Andrew was in contact with pedophile businessman Jeffrey Epstein for 5 years.
Prince Andrew's downfall came because of his close links and ties to Jeffrey Epstein.
They actually told him that everything's dropped, nothing, but they can't drop the prince.
There are moments that flip your entire world upside down when everything you thought you knew about someone suddenly collapses like a house of cards. And sources say Prince Harry has just had one of those moments. He's been shown something, photos that have left him absolutely shaken. Not the sweet memories of Meghan's Hollywood career or her charity work, no. What he allegedly saw connected Meghan to a world far darker, far more complicated, a world that links her name to Prince Andrew and long before she ever met Harry. Harry once believed Meghan was untouched by royal circles, that she'd never even brushed close to that world until him. He trusted the story she told, the outsider fairy tale of a Hollywood girl who fell in love with a prince. But then came those photos. They allegedly showed something completely different. Luxury yachts, familiar faces, names that made even royal insiders raise eyebrows. And now, everyone's whispering the same question. If Prince Andrew's reputation was destroyed for his associations, why has Meghan's alleged proximity been hidden so fiercely? Why the silence? Why has no one dared to speak? Because this isn't just royal gossip anymore. This is what Harry didn't know. This is what the palace won't say. And the quiet surrounding Meghan's past might be the loudest warning of all. Before we dive deeper into what Harry saw and why it's been buried, you know the drill, hit subscribe, tap the bell, because the dots we're about to connect might change everything you ever believed about this royal love story. Let's go back to when Andrew's world fell apart overnight, like an empire crumbling. One day, he was the Queen's favored son. The next, the face of scandal. Newspapers shredded his reputation day after day. TV panels dissected his every word.
Parallels between Fergie and Meghan Markle, and throughout Fergie's post-royal life, she's done every...
Palace stripped his titles, erased him from view. He became radioactive, untouchable, finished. But here's what's chilling. The same media that crucified Andrew stayed absolutely silent about Meghan. Silent. Even though she allegedly moved in the same social spaces. The very same yacht parties. The same glittering rooms behind closed doors. When it came to her, not a whisper, no digging, no questions, no headlines. You'd think one journalist, just one, would have asked. But insiders insist this silence wasn't ignorance. It was intentional, controlled, protected. Powerful people, they say, made sure this story never saw the light of day. Because if the public started asking why Meghan was allegedly seen in those same elite circles, the palace would be forced into a corner it's terrified of. If they didn't know her background, they look incompetent. If they did know and hid it, they look complicit. Either way, they lose. So the order was simple. Keep it quiet. Shut it down. Don't let the questions begin. Because once they start, they never stop. And really, when someone walks through the biggest scandal of a generation untouched while everyone else burns, you have to ask, why? When everyone around them falls, but they keep rising, it's not luck. It's power.
And here we have Meghan Markle parading on a yacht since 2014 at the very...
The kind of power that decides which stories get told and which vanish forever. Now, buckle up, because this is where it gets wild. Sources close to Andrew say he's been telling friends something that flips everything upside down. He knew Meghan before Harry. Not a passing handshake at some event. Actual familiarity. He remembers her. Interactions. Moments. If that's true, then the entire fairy tale crumbles. Because the world has been told Meghan was an outsider, an American actress swept into a royal romance. But if Andrew really knew her first, then she wasn't discovering the royal world for the first time, she was already inside it. When Meghan joined the family, she walked in with confidence, almost too much confidence. She didn't seem nervous or shy. She knew the protocols, carried herself like she'd been in those corridors before. Now, it suddenly makes sense. To Harry, she was the innocent outsider who didn't care about titles. But if she'd already been mingling with royals before, then maybe Harry wasn't the first royal she reached for, just the one who said yes. The accessible one. The vulnerable one. Because if she already understood that world, then the romance wasn't fate, it was strategy. Harry thought he was rescuing her from the crown's cruelty, but maybe she knew the system better than he ever did. Let's rewind to 2014. Photos began surfacing Meghan on a yacht. So what, you might say? But this wasn't just any yacht. Allegedly, it was tied to circles connected to Karina Shuliak, Jeffrey Epstein's last known girlfriend. Karina once publicly stated she only traveled, flew, or sailed with Epstein. So if Meghan was on that boat, it places her in dangerously close proximity to a world everyone in the palace wants erased.
Buckingham Palace has issued a strongly worded denial that Prince Andrew was involved in any impropriety.
The allegation.
When those photos appeared, the media ignored them. Not a single outlet dug deeper. But behind palace walls, they noticed. They studied those images carefully, traced the faces, the names. They knew what it meant. And instead of exposure, they buried it. They made sure it never resurfaced. Because if those photos had gone viral, if the public connected those names, Meghan's whole outsider story would collapse overnight. Remember, this was 3 years before she and Harry went public, 2014, when she was still just the actress from Suits. Yet she was already mixing with circles most people never even glimpse. And you don't stumble into that world. You get invited. You get placed. According to insiders, the bridge between Meghan's TV life and elite society was one man, Marcus Anderson. The ultimate connector. The man with keys to every private door. Late 2011, Meghan moves to Toronto to film Suits. She's not famous, just another actress. But then Marcus enters the picture, not by coincidence. Sources call him her social architect. He worked for Soho House, the ultra-exclusive members club where celebrities, billionaires, and royals mingle unseen. And through him, Meghan's entire world changed. Marcus didn't just introduce her to parties, he positioned her. Introduced her to Jessica Mulroney, to Canada's wealthiest families, to influencers with direct London connections. This was social chess, not friendship. And through these networks, Meghan allegedly brushed right into Andrew's world, not by chance, but by careful design. People who witnessed it said Meghan wasn't climbing, she was being lifted. Marcus built the ladder. She just learned how to climb it fast. She mastered the body language, the tone, the air of belonging. She mirrored wealth before she even had it. By 2014, that yacht wasn't a coincidence, it was a culmination. She'd already learned how power worked. Toronto wasn't her starting line, it was her launch pad. Now, imagine Harry. He thought he met a woman untouched by royal games, someone pure, unconnected, real. But if Meghan had been weaving through those networks for years, Harry didn't rescue her from the system. He brought her back into it. And here's another shocker. Meghan herself admitted she knew Princess Eugenie before Harry. That changes everything. Because if she knew Eugenie, Andrew's daughter, then she already had a direct line inside the royal circle before the supposed blind date. That random love story, suddenly not so random. Eugenie became the bridge. Now, Sarah Ferguson, Eugenie's mother, knows the royal machine better than anyone. She married into it, lost it all, and became fiercely protective of what little influence remained. Sources say she saw through Meghan instantly. It wasn't about class or career, it was ambition. Fergie, they say, blocked any closeness between Meghan and Andrew. She knew how fast outsiders could rise if they played it right, and she wasn't going to let history repeat itself on her watch. But when one door closes, another opens. Andrew was guarded, Harry was not. Younger, emotional, recently heartbroken, resentful of the palace, perfectly open to a woman who made him feel seen and adored. And through Eugenie, that connection became effortless. A friendship turned into access. Access turned into opportunity. And that opportunity turned into a royal wedding. But now, insiders whisper that the palace is terrified because if Andrew, Fergie, or Eugenie ever spoke publicly about what they really know from those earlier years, Meghan's entire image could shatter. They've seen her before the polish, before the Duchess Act. They know the unfiltered version. And Andrew? He's been quiet, but not at peace. He lost everything. She gained everything. And sources say that silence is anger brewing in disguise. They say he's told friends he remembers, the conversations, the familiarity, the little details no one else could invent, the kind that break timelines apart. He's hinted he has information proof that could flip the narrative. But he's holding it, waiting. Because once he speaks, he's done forever. But if you've already lost everything, what's left to fear? That's what the palace is terrified of. They know Andrew can't be controlled anymore. You can't threaten a man who's already been exiled. And while Andrew stews, Harry suffers in silence. For years, he defended Meghan blindly. Friends, family, anyone who questioned her, he called them jealous or racist. He believed she was the victim and he was her savior. But now, after seeing the photos, the timelines, the connections, that illusion has shattered. Sources say he's devastated, truly broken. Because every sacrifice he made, every bridge he burned, every public fight with his family, all of it was built on a version of their love story that may not have been true. He thought he was saving her. But maybe she was the one playing the hero all along. Now, Harry barely visits the UK, keeps to himself, avoids his old friends. The sparkle, that mischievous confidence, it's gone. He looks like a man who's realized too late that he might have been played. And here's the cruel irony, he thought he was rescuing Meghan from the royal family. But what if the royal family was trying to rescue him from her? By the time he figured it out, it was too late. The bridges were gone. So why is the palace still silent? Because this doesn't just expose Meghan or Andrew, it exposes the entire system. If they admit they knew about her past, it proves they covered it up, and that could destroy the monarchy's credibility forever. So the order remains, silence, but insiders say that silence is cracking. Little leaks, quiet whispers, hints from people who were actually there, photos that haven't been released, dates that don't line up, names that don't appear on official timelines. It always starts with a whisper, then denial, then silence, then the drip, and then the flood. We're not at the whisper anymore. We're at the drip. And once the flood begins, when someone, maybe Andrew, maybe Fergie, finally decides to speak the story the world believes about Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, and the royal family will never be the same again. And here's the thing, everyone inside the palace whispers, but no one dares to say aloud this silence can't hold forever, because too many people know too much. Staff who saw things, friends who remember conversations, party guests who recognized familiar faces before the cameras ever turned toward Meghan. They've stayed quiet for years, either out of loyalty or fear, but every secret has an expiration date, and when that first person speaks, even anonymously, the rest will follow. For Harry, that's the nightmare watching the truth leak in slow motion, each revelation cutting deeper than the last. Insiders say he's torn between love and disbelief, trapped in a story he can't control anymore. Meghan, meanwhile, carries on like nothing's wrong, smiling for cameras, walking red carpets, perfectly polished, but behind that image, tension simmers. The more she shines, the more people start to ask, how did she get here? Who opened those doors? Because fairy tales don't crumble quietly. They implode publicly, loudly, painfully. And when this one does, it won't just expose a marriage. It'll unravel the system that protected it. The palace may survive many things, but not the truth that's coming for them. One whisper, one photo, one name at a time.